Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Arun Gala. Today I have a special guest. His name is Ted Galanos. Ted went through a tragic situation with his health. Ted, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering to be interviewed.
Yes, sir.
Just to start off with, Ted, tell me a little bit about your situation.
Well, I am in a nursing home due to a severe accident, a freak accident that I had about almost 7 years ago. That well, to start with, I am in a wheelchair, as some people can see, others that are only listening to the audio. I am in a wheelchair. I have amputations to my fingers that have happened over the course of my life due to bacterial infections. And the reason for the infections is because I have myriad of, I'll call it symptoms, but suffice it to say, I have peripheral sensory neuropathy. I cannot feel with my hands or my feet. And I don't have the greatest of blood circulation. Right. I am not diabetic, though some of that sounds like what a diabetic might have. And so if I can't feel my hands or my feet, I'm prone to injury and callus buildup. And then if I have an open wound, a skin tear, a blister, whatever, with the poor blood circulation, I'm slow to heal. And that gives ample time for infection to get in. Most of the time, the infection can be fixed with oral antibiotics. Sometimes IV intravenous antibiotics need to be used, but unfortunately, over the course of my life, I've had to deal with chronically, and sometimes the infection would get into the bone or osteomyelitis, and then ultimately have to be removed. Wow. And so that's why I have, for your sighted viewers, all of my fingers are amputated to one degree or another. Wow. Anyway, so I'm also totally blind now due to retinitis pigmentosa. Was diagnosed at 5 years old and went totally blind in about 2002, give or take. And so I use a wheelchair because...
Tell me about that accident that you went through a few years ago.
Right, okay. So I got up one morning, went to use the restroom, and then as I was walking back to my wheelchair, right, at the time I could do short walks and standing transfers. And so my left foot got pinned between the big wheel and the little wheel of the left side of my wheelchair, and I couldn't feel my foot being stuck. Well, as I turned to sit down, you know, gravity takes over, and then where normally my foot would have popped free, this time it didn't, and it tore severely the femoral patella ligament in the back of my kneecap. And then 4 days later, it detached. I was in excruciating pain when it first happened. And then, you know, several minutes later, the pain subsides. I go to another part of my apartment where I know I can grab a wall and stand just to test the leg. It seemed to be fine, but I had to be careful with it. But then 4 days later, I believe on a Wednesday or a Thursday, it might have been 5 days, the ligament detached completely. I was transferring at 11 o'clock at night to get in my bed, and I stood up, I fell down, because I had only one leg to stand on.
Oh, wow.
And so my neighbor had to call EMT. I went to the emergency room, then was admitted, and it was determined that it would have to require surgery, but there was a whole lot of complications. I bounced from hospital to hospital to skilled nursing facility unit, kind of like a nursing home for Medicare patients. Right. And then the Medicare days ran out, or nearly ran out, so they had to get me to the place that accepted Medicaid. And so I ended up here at Woodridge Nursing and Rehab as a result, because they would accept residential Medicaid.
How long have you been here?
I've been here since December 12th, 2012.
what kind of struggles do you have with your fingers being amputated?
Well, I used to, as a kid, like in grade school and such, I could write with a pen or a pencil. And my sight was sort of good enough that I could, read with magnifiers, small print with magnifiers and such. And but in high school, I started using large print along with magnifier, heavy roll paper, just as the vision loss with RP goes. And then later in college, I dealt with cassette recorders and things like that. Well, moving on to college, professors don't take in handwritten classwork or homework or research papers like they do in high school. So I had to find a way to be able to type. And with the way my fingers are, there was no way I could use a standard QWERTY keyboard. So working through what used to be Texas Commission for the Blind and DARS didn't exist back then. Texas Institute for Rehabilitation and Research in the medical center, they came up with, they did an evaluation and came up with, at the time, something called handy code, which allowed me to type with Morse code in a DOS-based computer with the dots and the dashes and such. Well, since we moved into Windows 95 and then today's Windows 7, 8, next 7, 8, and 10.
Sounds kind of intense.
Well, I've had 3 different kinds of Morse code input. The one that I described that only worked with DOS and did not work at all with Windows, and then the second and third generations of what's called Darcy, or second generation was the Darcy 2 TWO, and then the one I currently use is the USB Darcy. And it was invented for somebody that was born without arms or legs, and so it was named after her.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so it too uses an expanded version of Morse code to encompass everything that's on a 101 or a 104 keyboard.
So tell me a little bit about how you use your iPhone.
Well,
other technologies.
Yes, okay. I do use JAWS on the computer,
Right.
and every now and again I'll use NVDA if JAWS gets frozen. But with the iPhone is a small gadget that usually requires somebody to hold with their hands and in their fingers to put the phone up to your ear to talk, or use your thumbs, I guess, if you're holding it and typing and doing whatever, or swiping. Well, a friend of mine challenged me last October, and he said that if he could play a game of Dice World with his nose, then I could get an iPhone and use it with my nose. And he did. He played Dice World, an entire game of Dice World. And so I started doing research to find out how in the world I could afford a $600 or $700 piece of equipment without any state resources that we know. Well, I did some research, and I found through, in an obscure way of getting through Texas Workforce Commission and then whatever, I found STAT, Specialized Telecommunications Assistance Program, and through it and its voucher, I was able to afford an iPhone 7. I got it last year in, I can't remember if it was April or May, I think April. And I thought, well, how am I going to carry this around? So I looked on Amazon and I found this neat little lanyard made by GearBeast.
Is that Velcro? Or?
Nope, it's all rubber. Rubber and a little piece of metal to make the clip. And it's looped, and Joanne, my girlfriend, is over to the side, probably could describe it better than I can. Other than it's a big necklace around my neck made of rubber or silicone or whatever it is. And then it has another piece to it that has a metal clip, as I said, and 4 loops that goes around the 4 corners of the phone, or the case, or whatever case you use. It's designed to be used with Android or iPhones. And so, with the way my fingers are, I adapt and overcome to any environment. So I got it looped in my fingers, the stubs. I'll catch it in my teeth, work my hand down to the clip, pick up the phone in my palm. Oops, it's upside down. Flip it around real carefully. And then now I've got it poised between two hands, supported by my chin. My index finger of the left hand and my thumb of the right hand are on either side of the phone. And the rest of my hand is kind of supporting it from underneath, resting it on my chin. And so, oops, the lock screen is down. So I'll unlock it by hitting the home button with the upper lip. I guess Hey Siri, turn off Bluetooth. It was in my ears.
Right. So,
okay, now Bluetooth turned off. So we got that.
Right. So basically you work the phone using your nose and your mouth and stuff, right? Pretty cool.
And I tap with my nose, double tap there. Open my email with double tap on that. iBug. Okay. Okay, so it's talking about. Okay, so it's talking about the summer concert for iBug. And so I just pinched it between my thumb and index finger to hold it to the side while I'm talking to you. But then if I want to do something, I bring my two hands together.
That's pretty cool how you kind of came up with your own idea.
And then if I want to, I manipulate it to one side to adjust the volume if I want to, or the other side to get it in my mouth and turn it sideways. And with the tooth, put it back on the lock.
Wow, that is really cool. Thank you for showing that.
You're very welcome.
So what other technologies do you use?
Well, the Alexa. I like using the Alexa for playing music, get news, and sometimes play games. If ever I can get the maintenance guy to put my Fire TV up on the wall and get it programmed, then I hope to be able to make the TV completely hands-free between the Fire TV and the Echo.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your future. What do you want to do with yourself, or how do you see your future?
Well, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, about the time that I was getting the phone and I was starting to become active with Houston Council for the Blind, and I thought, you know what, I can't just sit here in this nursing home at 45 years old and more or less waste away for the next 20 years, 30 years, or however long.
All right.
And so I called Texas Workforce and asked them, is there something I can do from the confines of an institution? But I don't want to end up getting employment and then having to pay the nursing home everything. Because right now, the way it works in a nursing home, you get, whether it's your SSI check, whether it's a SSDI check, whether it's Social Security, whatever.
Right.
All of those dollars go to the nursing home except 60. You are with a take-home pay of $60 a month. Who can live on $60 a month? What kind of quality of life can you have with only $60 a month?
Right.
You know, somebody that's bedbound on a ventilator that can't go anywhere is one thing. But somebody like myself is different. But if I get a job, I have to report that to Medicaid, to the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, and then they adjust, they do their little adjustments and such, but then that also gets told to the nursing home, and the nursing home makes their adjustments, and so I'm still stuck at $60. Where is the incentive to work if I'm giving it all to the nursing home?
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to work without involving the government. But I also want to do things legally.
Right. What kind of jobs do you see yourself doing?
Well, I've come up with a concept of blind audio scrapbooking.
Right.
And what that is somebody, and I've already done this with one person about a year ago. Tammy Lynn, my friend up in Minnesota, asked me to put together a scrapbook for her daughter.
Right.
And she provided various pieces of music, various recordings that she had made over her daughter's 25 years life, that she recorded on cassette and then digitized through a cassette player digital recorder that, of course, you can get from Amazon. What can't you get from Amazon?
Right. Right.
And so she digitized a lot of audio footage of her daughter. And being a blind mother, that's all she had. I'm sure she had some pictures, but a lot of what she had was all audio.
Right.
And so she created a kind of outline and said, I want this piece of footage to be played first, this second, this third, and back to this music.
And you put it all together.
I put it all together, right. And so almost hundreds of hours of audio and Tammy recorded for herself with voice recorder a narrative, and then I pieced that narrative in with the rest of the audios. Yeah. An audio, you can call it an audio puzzle.
Well,
you go to
scrapbook is a pretty good thing for it too.
Right. And so I did that, and it took lots and lots of hours of audio and compressed it into about 31 minutes. And it was a lot of fun to do. It was a big challenge, but it came out really, really nice. Some other recording I do is for the out-of-sight.net chat site, out-of-sight.net. I do, they play games on there, so I create little audio intros for their games. And I also make an MP3 type podcast of the Blind Perspective newsletter as well. So I do all of this, but it's all, at this point, most of it is free. I mean, I just do it because it gives me something to do.
Right.
But I would like to parlay something like that into
some kind of business.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying. I'm doing it for free too.
And
so,
I'm not. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, majoring in computer information systems, and I'm fairly proficient with the phone, even only having it for a little over a year.
Right.
I'm pretty proficient with the usage of JAWS and Windows, and I've spent countless hours with blind friends all over the country, perhaps all over the world, in doing technical support here and there. I'd like to maybe turn something like that into a donation for services, if you will. Because if I can't get paid on the books, then consider it a contribution. And there's a neat little thing in Texas, and there's more and more states coming on board with this as time goes by. In 2014, Obama introduced something called ABLE, Achieving a Better Life Experience. And it was a piece of legislation written such that people with significant disabilities that have sustained their significant disability on or before their 26th birthday, then they're eligible to open an ABLE account. And donations, contributions can come via after-tax dollars from anybody, family, friends, whatever, into this account up to $15,000 a year and total $100,000, and it not affect your Medicaid. It does not affect your Social Security.
So for everybody involved, Ted, go ahead and give them all your information, your Twitter account, your email address, whatever you want to give them, so people can reach out to you.
Sure. My email address is tr.galanos, Galanos @gmail.com. And if you're wanting something by way of the audio scrapbooks or technical assistance, 2 other email addresses are, well, let me just give you this one, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set up a website. It's not yet completed. I'm talking with somebody and getting that launched maybe next week. Is GalanosConsulting @gmail.com.
I like that.
GalanosConsulting.com. But right now, since the GalanosConsulting.com is not live yet, do GalanosConsulting@gmail.com. I got a little ahead of myself, I guess.
No. All right, Ted. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Let me, if I may, if they want to call my cell phone, it's 713-298-1846. And I don't use Twitter. I am on Facebook, Ted Galanos. TEDGALANOS.
Right.
You can search me that way as well.
Right. Ted, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir.
And as y'all can see, Ted is very incredible. And thank you for spending a few minutes with Arun, ARUN. And I can be reached at a few minutes with Arun, ARUN @gmail.com. Thank you.
Great.